My first question is something I want to ask as many people as possible on the podcast because I enjoy the story. I like the answers of this particular one, and it's just about your first experience going to the cinema. I always like hearing these stories. I know you've spoke about it on your channel before because I remember vaguely listening to you talk about this before, but you've not said it on the podcast before, so let's hear it.
I don't know really. Like I know my first memory of being in a cinema, but there's not really much of a story to it, and that was
Right.
Beauty and the Beast. So that
Okay.
was like 91. I was about 3 or 4 years old, I think. My nan used to take me to the cinema a lot, all the pictures, as she calls it.
Yeah.
And so my nan would, like, my dad every now and then would take me. My mum would never take me. So for me, it was me and my nan. That was kind of what we used to do together. She'd go to the pictures on the weekend. So, and the Disney films are probably the kind of things she'd take me to see. And I just remember being in the cinema and seeing the opening shot of like a landscape view of the castle as the kind of the prologue begins and the story set. I just remember that's it. But an early memory, which would be 93, so I was 5 years old, and I do remember this fairly clearly, was going to see, well, first of all, I remember being at my dad's house and he was looking in the paper, because that's what you used to do back then, is look in the paper to see what's on in the cinema.
A newspaper, what is that?
And of course, 1993, what was the big film that year? Jurassic Park. And I was terrified. I was so scared of seeing this film. I didn't want to go see it. My dad was like, "Come on, see Jurassic." No, just please no. So we settled on the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is an infamous movie. You have a famous epic classic. Well, I mean, I haven't revisited it. That's one I should probably do for a video or something. It's like,
yeah.
So we went to see Super Mario Brothers, the movie. And well, I was going to say, if you've seen the film, obviously you haven't, but the opening, I forget what it is exactly, but there's some kind of like opening sequence with like a dinosaur, basically. And I was sat there thinking, hang on, because my dad was the type to do this sort of thing. And I looked over and my dad just like elbowed me going, "We are seeing," and he leaned into it. He saw the perfect opportunity to scare me. And I was like, no. And then obviously I realized, oh, it is Super Mario Brothers. But that's all I really remember, was just the fake out with thinking it was going to be Jurassic Park and being terrified. But yeah, that's probably, I'd put that as my first couple of cinema memories.
Listen, in film history, we talk about the greatest films ever made. It goes, Jurassic Park, Aliens, and then there's the Super Mario Brothers movie. So what a great film to start with. Mine was Monsters Inc. That was the first one I saw in 2001, and I said that. I mean, I'm asking everybody for these like stories and stuff, and I'm just going to tell my story every single time. I remember jumping up and down on like the different. Obviously, it must have been an empty cinema, but in the way like some cinemas have like the slabs in between, the different aisles and the different rows. Yeah. But these were like big steps that you could go on. And I was just like jumping and doing forward rolls and cartwheels and stuff on these things. And I mean, I'm someone that like hates when people, disturb you in the cinema these days. That's me as a young child, just being so innocent. Clearly, Monsters Inc. is a great film. It's actually one of my favorite, Pixar films. But at the time, I must not have been as interested as maybe other people would be. But even like as a young boy, surely like, dinosaurs would have been something that you were interested in seeing, as for Jurassic Park, or was it just more of you thought it was like a horror film?
No, I don't know I loved dinosaurs when I was a kid.
Right.
Obviously not at that point. It must have been a year or two later. Because and this actually sparked my love of filmmaking. My uncle made a film with my two cousins, Adam and Jody, and they were like a little bit younger than I was, and he called it Return to Jurassic Park. Remember, He made it in 1996. So he took clips from the movie, clips from like dinosaur shows on TV, and then had the kids running around in the woods and stuff, and made it into this little fun little movie. And that was like, oh my God, you can make your own movie. Like, it doesn't have to be a proper movie. You can just make your own movie. And so by that point, 96, I was definitely into dinosaurs and loved and I loved Jurassic Park. Once I saw it on video, I think, and yeah, so it was one of those things, I guess, at the time I was just a little bit too young. I don't know. Sometimes you have things when you're young that unnecessarily scare you. There's no like logic behind it. You just feel a bit tense about it for whatever reason. So
yeah, the opening scene in Monsters Inc. where like they're doing the test scales and the fake children and stuff. Like even that's quite scary for like a 4-year-old child. I guess that kind of goes back to why I started doing YouTube videos as well. Like the thought of like having your own show, making your own film, that has always been like the trend and the interest for me of having a YouTube channel is being in control and having your own outlet to kind of talk about these things. I know you made quite a few films when you were younger. Well, I say films, but like you just whatever you were trying to do at the time. how was that? How was putting together a film with your friends? Was that something you would do often, or is that just do you only have a few memories of that?
Not as often as I would have liked, and it was the trick
Right.
was getting friends to be in it. But my first film was with my cousins, and I consider them films. You know, they're not
Yeah.
good, but they're, you know, I mean, when you set out to make something, I mean, you know, if a kid draws something in school and gives it to the parent, they're not going to go, "Oh, that's nice. It's not really a painting, though." You know, it's a painting. You know, it's maybe shit, but it's a
Right.
painting, and it's the same with making a little mini film. And so, I've always been oddly proud of myself because I think I was 11 and I had the idea for a film. I had the characters. I had my auntie film it, and then I edited it. You know, 11 years old, and it's, you know, it's not incoherent. You know, so.
Right.
But you know, I grew up like making films like that, but not as much as I would have liked because it was difficult to get people interested in doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But,
Then it just becomes this, you become the filmmaker, you know, then you've got the stress of like putting it all together and like writing it. And as you say, trying to like get people to do it and stuff like that. So that would have brought some stress, I guess. But as long as it's, you know, all in good fun and you don't take it too seriously. But at the time, everything, something if you do like that when you're younger, it just becomes your life, you know. You just can't stop thinking about it. And it's like even in school, that was my thing. Like when I was in school, I would just think about, you know, coming home and watching wrestling and going and playing games and stuff like that. Like I couldn't stop thinking about the thing that I was most into. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the greatest attention span, still don't, but like it was more prominent at the time, you know.
I remember at one point, like Mortal Kombat came out, the Mortal Kombat movie in '95, I think, and I just remember thinking like I should make my own Mortal Kombat film, and I just this really stupid idea of like I could just have like film someone with a camera with a bunch of ice cubes in their hand. They just throw the ice cubes onto the floor, and it'd be like Sub-Zero. It'd be amazing, and it just like you think about it now, it's like just the worst thing ever. But so even before I had a camera, I was thinking about like cool things I could do for a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
The gears were always turning.
My dad had a mobile phone at the time, believe it or not, and it could do 10 minutes of video on his phone. So and my phone couldn't do any video. So I would always have to borrow his mobile and I would film myself playing with the wrestling figures. And I'd do like my own like matches and shows and things like that. And I mean I had my whole storyline, my whole wrestling company. But I would film some things and then I was like putting them on YouTube. And I did one with like Mick Foley and Triple H, and we had this wrestling match. It's just like I'm probably like in my school uniform or something, and it got like thousands of views on YouTube at the time. And now thinking back to that, like who, first of all, who was watching that? and then two, I mean, who? Why would I put that on YouTube? You know, but I guess it's quite charming and sweet when you think back to it. But
You're a kid. It's understandable. You know, I did the same just without filming it. I had my wrestling figures and all that stuff. So
yeah,